Hello and welcome, where we break down big, complex ideas and make them simple. Today, we're diving into something called the Big Push Theory. It's a fascinating concept that tries to answer a huge question. What does it really take to get a country's economy off the ground and on a path to real growth?
So, what's the secret sauce for getting an economy moving? Well, the theory kicks off with this absolutely brilliant analogy. Just picture it. An airplane needs to hit a certain speed on the runway before it can lift off. In the same way, an economy needs to hit a kind of critical speed to achieve growth that can actually sustain itself. And this leads us to the core puzzle, the economic takeoff problem. Why is it that some economies just seem to struggle to get started? This was the exact question that was on the mind of Professor Paul N. Rosenstein-Radon. He looked around and wondered, why do some countries seem to get stuck in this low-growth trap while others just surge ahead?
His answer was pretty radical for the time. He basically said, forget about small little steps. They're not going to cut it. To get an economy airborne, you need a big push. One massive, coordinated wave of investment designed to smash through all the roadblocks at once. But hang on. Why does it have to be so big? Why is this massive push so necessary? Why can't slow and steady win the race? Well, the reason comes down to three major hurdles, which Rosenstein-Rodin called indivisibilities. And really, that's just a fancy way of saying there are some things you just can't do in small pieces. So these three hurdles are the heart of the theory. First, there's a problem in production. Second, there's one in demand. And third, a big one, is the supply of savings. Let's break each of these down. Okay, so hurdle number one, production. Specifically, it's about building what economists call social overhead capital, or SOC for short. This is all the basic stuff an economy needs to function. Power grids, roads, ports, communication networks, the absolute essentials.
And investing in this kind of infrastructure is super tricky. For one thing, it's often irreversible. Once you build a massive dam, you can't just unbuild it. It also takes years, sometimes decades, to see the benefits. And here's the kicker, these investments are lumpy. They require a huge cost all at once. You can't just build half a power plant, right? It's all or nothing.
Now for the second big hurdle, and this one is a classic chicken and egg problem. Demand. Think about it. If you decide to build one single factory in a very low-income country, who are you going to sell your products to? If most people don't have money to spend, any single investment on its own is incredibly risky.
Let's make this crystal clear with a really simple but powerful example. It's all about a shoe factory, and it shows how coordinating investment can literally create its own market.
So, imagine your shoe factory is the only new business around. Your new workers, they get paid, but are they going to spend all their money on shoes? No way! They need to buy food, clothes, other things, so the market for your shoes is just too small, and your factory will probably fail. But what if 100 different factories, making clothes, processing food, building furniture, all open up at the same time? Suddenly, the workers from every factory become the customers for every other factory. They create their own market.
And this graph shows that magic perfectly. On its own, the factory's demand curve, that's D1 down there, is too low to cover its costs. It's losing money. But with the big push, all those other factories open up, creating a much bigger market. That pushes the demand curve all the way up to D4. And now look at that, the same factory is making a nice profit. That's the power of creating a market from scratch.
And that, of course, brings us to the elephant in the room, the third and final hurdle, savings. This big push sounds amazing, but where on earth does the money come from? To pull off this kind of massive investment, you need a huge pool of savings, and that's exactly what's missing in low-income countries.
So, the theory sounds compelling, right? But the billion-dollar question is, does it actually work in the real world? Is the big push the perfect solution for every developing economy? Well, not quite. The theory has definitely faced some serious criticism.
Critics point out some major potential flaws. For one, pumping so much money into an economy so quickly can set off massive inflation. A lot of these plans also tend to ignore the agricultural sector, which is often the biggest employer. Then there's the sheer administrative nightmare of trying to coordinate a plan this complex. And frankly, some critics argue there just isn't a lot of historical evidence of it working out as smoothly as the theory suggests.
But even with all these very real criticisms, the core idea of the big push is still incredibly relevant. It teaches us something really essential about how development works.
And here's the takeaway. What it all boils down to is this. You can't create a real climate for development with small, piecemeal efforts. Investment has to reach a certain critical mass. It all comes back to that airplane. You have to hit that minimum speed before you can ever hope to take off.
Which leaves us with a really big question for today. For developing nations trying to grow, is the big push a necessary gamble that they just have to take, or is it an unrealistic and maybe even dangerous dream? It's definitely something to think about. Thanks for watching.